U.S. corn and soybean futures have fallen sharply following USDA's most recent crop report. In its initial look at the 2023 production situation, USDA projected record U.S. corn and soybean yields.
Silos are overflowing, corn is rotting, and farmers are standing in empty fields staring at crops no one wants to buy. In just days, 88% of U.S. corn exports disappeared, wiped out by a trade war that slammed the door on decades of global partnerships. China walked away, other buyers followed, and now entire farming towns are unraveling. How did a country that once fed the world end up on the brink of an agricultural collapse?
I'm old enough to remember when soybeans were an alternative crop that a few people were playing with back in the 1960s.
Soybeans have become an important crop.
In the heart of America, something feels deeply wrong. Across the Midwest, places like Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois, you can find massive silos filled to the brim with corn and soybeans. These crops were supposed to feed the world, keep the economy moving, and pay the bills for thousands of hardworking families. But they're just sitting there, unbought, unshipped, unused. In some cases, they're starting to rot. And it's not because of a bad harvest or a natural disaster. It's because of a system that failed the very people who trusted it. Farmers planned, planted, and harvested just like they've done for generations. But this time, there's no one at the other end of the line. Export contracts have vanished. Countries like China, once the biggest buyer of U.S. soy and corn, have completely cut off purchases in 2025. The barns are full, but the bank accounts are empty. And the phones aren't ringing with orders.
Here's how soybeans became such a valuable commodity, from food production to the U.S. economy and geopolitics.
This isn't a weather problem. It's not about pests or floods or droughts. This is something entirely different. This is man-made. The collapse in U.S. exports came almost overnight, driven by trade wars, political pride, and massive tariffs that spiraled out of control. When the U.S. slapped a 145% tariff on Chinese goods, then they signed long-term deals with Brazil and Argentina. Countries that once relied on American grain are now doing business elsewhere, and they might not come back.
And now they're concerned about how President Trump's campaign promise to launch the largest deportation effort in American history will play out.
What makes it worse is that all of this could have been avoided. The trade war was supposed to help American industry, but instead it crushed the backbone of the rural economy. These farmers aren't asking for handouts. They're asking for the chance to sell what they've worked so hard to grow. They feel like pawns in a game where the rules keep changing and no one tells them why. You hear stories that break your heart. A farmer in Nebraska sold his tractor, not to upgrade, but just to buy food for his family. In Iowa, people are choosing not to plant this season, not because they don't want to work, but because they don't know if there will be a buyer come harvest time, and that's terrifying. You can work all year and still lose everything because of decisions made in Washington or Beijing. The crops in the silos are more than just grain. They represent time, energy, sweat, and sacrifice. They're the result of early mornings, long nights, and the hope that what you're growing has value.